Welcome. Well, thank you again so much for being here. We've been really excited to have you and to hear your wisdom. So the students that are here with us are our fundraising interns. They're Hillel leaders at Rhodes College and University of Memphis. And I've been told that you were at the Rhodes College Hillel inauguration a few years ago.
I was at the grand opening of the Rhodes College Hillel. How's it going there? You got to feel, all right, you finish the setup and then I'm going to hear from them how it's going, okay?
Sure, yes. So they're leaders on campus and they've been selected to do some fundraising for Federation this semester. So we've been learning together. We've been hearing from other guest speakers about philanthropy and the Jewish values behind philanthropy. And then they've been applying that knowledge and those skills to making campaign calls for Federation's annual campaign. So they've raised over $20,000 in just like 2 or 3 months. It's amazing. I'm very impressed by them. And so you are sort of our big grand finale speaker of this semester. So maybe before we hear from you, Eric, I'd love for the students to introduce themselves quickly, just so you can get a sense of who they are and what they're focusing on academically.
Please, I want to hear from you.
So I'll just call on you to make it simple. How about Lydia? You go first. You're first on my box.
Okay. Hi, I'm Lydia. I'm a senior and I go to Rhodes. I'm from Atlanta. That's where I am right now. And I'm a business major and Middle Eastern Studies minor.
And are you involved in Hillel?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I did talk about what you've been.
How did you get involved with this internship with the Federation?
Well, I did the Jewish learning.
Yeah, JLF. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that. So that's kind of how I started to get involved, and then Sophie reached out to me about doing this fellowship, and I was like, sounds great.
Great. Was your family involved in Atlanta at all?
Not really, no.
Good. Okay. Terrific.
Thanks, Lydia. Marissa.
Hi, my name's Marissa. I'm a senior at Rhodes as well. I'm from San Diego, California, so I'm there right now. I'm majoring in education and psychology, and right now I'm currently applying to occupational therapy schools. And I'm also the treasurer of Hillel at Rhodes.
Nice.
And a fellow. And I actually did the Jewish Changemakers Fellowship this summer.
You're a changemaker.
Yeah, I loved it. It was
good.
The highlight of my summer. And so
well, we're not letting go of our changemaker. You're an alum now, so we're now you're really important. Good.
Yeah, and Sophie reached out to me about this internship and I just couldn't pass it up.
Great. Have you all, Rhodes has been out the whole year, so it's been no on campus at all?
Correct. Yeah.
You're all studying from home. You think you're coming back? And is the plan to come back in January? We don't know yet.
I think so. Right, guys?
We're supposed to.
Oh. Okay.
Thanks, Marissa. Mira.
Hi, I'm Mira. I'm a junior at Rhodes. I'm originally from Austin, Texas, but I'm still in Memphis. I'm a biology major, environmental science minor. Oh, and I'm the vice president of Hillel at Rhodes. Sorry.
So tell me where you're from again.
Where I'm from, Austin, Texas.
Austin. Oh, very nice. It's a great place.
Thanks, Mira. Noah.
Hi, I'm Noah. I'm a senior at Memphis. I am a double major in sports management and journalism, hoping to go to law school and follow in my mom's footsteps. I am the president at Hillels of Memphis, and I got involved because Sophie texted me and asked me if I wanted to do it, and I couldn't pass it up. I thought it was really cool, a good opportunity to get to know people in the Jewish community, because I grew up in Memphis, so I have been involved with the Jewish community, and I wanted to stay involved. So, but now I'm currently in Austin, Texas, because my family moved. So,
we got 2 in Austin, Texas. It's a fast-growing place.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Thanks, Noah.
And there's a great Hillel there, University of Texas. It's a great Hillel.
Yes. Sophie.
Hey, I'm Sophie. I'm a junior at Rhodes. I'm an environmental science major and a chem minor. I'm also a fellow as well as the president of Hillel Rhodes, and I'm doing the weekly learning. Well, I guess we just finished it, the weekly learning fellowship as well.
Great.
Thank you. Kayla.
Hey, my name is Kayla Klosmer. I'm currently a senior at University of Memphis. I was also a part of the Jewish Learning Fellowship, and I know my parents have been involved with the Jewish Federation, and my brother is currently on the board as well.
Thank you. And we're also joined by Ken Steinberg, who's the chair of Jewish Community Partners. Ken, do you want to say hi?
Can you hear me? Because I'm in the mountains and my connection's been going in and out.
Yes.
Eric, hello. Thank you so much for doing this. We've met a few times. I think the last time was in Pittsburgh. I'm on the JCCA board also. Did our meeting a year ago, I believe. But it's so nice to have you
like
here.
A long time ago, but it was a year ago, October.
It was October, yeah, a year ago. But I'm former president of our federation and the current chair of JCP, which is the management company of both the federation and the foundation here in Memphis. And again, we're honored to have you here with us. And thank you to all our students for raising so much money.
Great to see you, Ken.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Eric, before I officially pass the mic to you, I'd like to introduce you with your official bio, or part of it at least. And then you can just share your wisdom and your story, and we'd just love to hear whatever you have to share.
Do the short version.
Yes, I'll be as brief as possible. So Eric Fingerhut is the president and CEO of the Jewish Federations of North America. And prior to his time at JFNA, he served as the president and CEO of Hillel International, which is how I originally know him. He led the Drive to Excellence at Hillel International, which is a big reason why we do the things we do at Hillel now. And before Hillel, before JFNA, he served as the chancellor of the Ohio Board of Regents and also as an Ohio State Senator. So with that, I would love to pass the mic over to you, Eric, and take it away.
That was great. Perfect leg. It's so great to be with you. Thank you so much for including me. I'm just so thrilled to meet you. So you have to, before I talk, first of all, I want to answer, I'd much rather answer questions or talk about things you want to talk about. So I didn't prepare anything. How's it been? How's the fundraising been? When you talk to people, what are they talking about? What are they concerned about? What are some of the issues? How do you answer them? I'm dying to know. Help me. Marissa, you go.
I've had a mix. I've actually had quite a few families. They were super welcoming, and especially when they found out I go to Rhodes, there's been a lot of alumni in the Memphis area. So quite a few of them would like invite me to Shabbat dinners and stuff. And I even knew some of them because I babysit a lot of Jewish families in Memphis. So it was pretty cool to meet new families and connect with them. And pretty much most people I talked to were very excited and wanted to donate with an increase. There were a couple this year that had financial hardships just because of COVID, which is definitely understandable, but I really enjoyed getting to know a bunch of new Jewish families.
That's great. Anybody else? What stuck out in your mind? Tell me about one conversation that stuck out in your mind that you had. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I kind of had the same deal as Marissa. A lot of my calls were very well reciprocated because they were just more interested in me and my story and like how I got to where I was, and you know, it was a nice back and forth. And there was one lady in particular, I couldn't remember the name on the top of her head because it was a long list, but she was talking to me about how 3 of her sons were involved in law and how, you know, it's a hard profession, and telling me some advice and stuff. And, you know, my going out of my way to talk to her for an extra 5-10 minutes made her want to increase her donation, which was really cool to see. That, you know, before she was just like, oh, just the same as last year. And then after talking to her a little bit about what's going on and telling her my story and how I got to where I was, she said, you know what, because you took the time out of your day, I want to increase. And it was a little bit of an increase, but an increase is an increase. So it just kind of sat with me at the end of the day and made me realize that how impactful these calls really are.
That's beautiful. I love that story. Anybody else? People are at home. Were they talking about what it's like to be home? Did you talk to people about the experience? I mean, it's crazy. People are so lonely right now. Any conversations? People
I
tell
had a
you
lot of
what's
people
going on
just,
about it? Go ahead, Sophie. Yeah.
I just had a lot of conversations about how school was, honestly. I think they were just interested in seeing how like Rhodes or Memphis functions within a pandemic and how we as like Hillel have stayed active but virtual. And so they were just kind of interested to see that. And then as well as just Memphis in general, they're excited that, you know, we're calling from, I have like an out of state area code. So like, oh my God, you're not from Memphis. And so they're curious about how I like the city, how I'm getting involved with the Jewish community. So that's been really nice.
So they're proud of their city. Well, Alyssa, that's great. Thank you. And please throw out other stories you have and ask me questions. Sophie, thank you. So I know we have two Sophies. So Sophie Enda, thank you for that story. Sophie Black, thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for committing your career to Hillel and to working with these talented people. I love Hillel. It's it's an amazing part of who I am and in my life. So I'm so thrilled to see such talented leadership in Memphis. And I do feel connected to Memphis, having been at Rhodes College, and I've been to the Memphis Hillel building. I've been to all of those wonderful places. So I'm excited to see that it's growing and doing well. And I hear great things, by the way, about Rhodes College, and I know that it's growing and doing really well. Look, to me, that whether it's Hillel, whether it's Federation, my previous career was in politics. I was also in higher education. The word you're going to hear me use the most is community. We are a communal people. Jews, we don't live up on mountaintops. We don't live off in on Walden Pond. We don't we'll take our walks in the woods, but we are a communal people, right? I mean, think about the very rules, if you will, the halacha, the laws of our tradition, right? We pray as a community. You have to pray with 10 people. We celebrate as a community in our holidays. We mourn as a community. You know that you have to actually have a minyan at a funeral, right? I mean, because we're not supposed to be alone. Our rituals of weddings, of celebrations, and of mourning. We're a communal people. We are not an individual people. We are communal people, and that means that we have to support each other. We have to care about each other. The thing I loved about Hillel so much was that you're building a community. Frequently every year, right? There's new students coming, new students graduating. Some new faculty come, some new faculty leave, and you have to come together and realize that this is your home now. Maybe it's only temporary for 4 years, maybe less, but this is your home. And while you're there, you're going to build a community. I love that you're from Austin, and you're from Austin, and you're from someplace else, Atlanta. I mean, Memphis is your home right now, right? There isn't a question about, why should I help the Memphis Federation because I live in Atlanta. Memphis is your home, and it's a community. When you're back in Atlanta, Atlanta's your community. By the way, we've lived in the last 10 so years. When my political career was in Cleveland, when I was a member of Congress in the state legislature, Cleveland, Ohio. Then we moved to Columbus because when I was the chancellor of the university system, we were based in Columbus. And now we live in Washington, D.C. We moved here because of Hillel. Hillel's headquarters is in Washington, D.C. So as Laura will appreciate, I'm on the call list of the Cleveland Federation, the Columbus Federation, and now the Washington, D.C. Federation. And the truth is we feel connected to all of them because each of these places is a unique community with its own individual characteristics, but also so recognizable. And when you care about Jewish life, wherever you are, you can connect because you understand that this is community. So thank you for helping build community in Hillel, because that's what you're doing. I remember when I started at Hillel, I became president of Hillel, and I would go to like fundraising events and community events, and I would introduce myself to people, and they say, "What do you do?" I said, "Oh, I'm Eric Fingerhut. I'm the president of Hillel." And people would say, "Oh, that's great, Eric. It's great. It's a great organization." And then they would sort of like, you can't really see because I'm standing at my desk, but they sort of look down at their feet and kind of say, "Well, I didn't really go to Hillel when I was in college." And But they'd say, but I didn't really need it because my friends were Jewish, or I lived close to home and I could go home, on Friday nights, I could go home on holidays. And they say, but I'm really glad that you're there, for the people who need you. And I would always say the same thing. I say, you don't understand, right? You may have had Jewish friends, you may have lived close to home and could go home, but there was somebody else who needed you, was waiting for you to walk down the hall and invite you to come to the community. There was somebody else who needed you to reach out. People need to be asked in. So I know your story about calling and talking, people need to be called, they need to be asked, they need to be wanted, they need to feel, to feel that their contributions matter, because it does. Their contributions do matter. Every single contribution, large and small, matters to the Memphis Federation. Every participation at Hillel, whether you come to one event just to participate or whether you take a leadership role, these all matter. We can't do this by ourselves. We're too small. We're too small people. Change. Yes, it's true. The famous expression, one person can change the world. It's true. One person can change the world. But the way you do it is by motivating others to join with you and to follow along. So you're being leaders. You're in the greatest tradition of Jewish life, which is community building. And look, I'll just say, because I really do want to just, if you want to talk about what's happening in Washington, I was a member of Congress. You want to talk about what's happening at Hillel, you want to talk about what's happening in Jewish life, whatever you want to talk about, the Federation, we can talk about. But I really do think that this is a special moment. The reason I asked you about whether people, because they've been home and COVID, so many people are part of our community because this is their connection to each other. And you all know, because you're feeling it with your own friends, that and your own social lives, right? How many of your home and all, how many of your friends are home in Atlanta, Lydia, versus how many are away at school? Are you able to see, are you able to see them, not see them? Are you, it's a different time, right? And people are feeling it. They're feeling it really, really powerfully. So your phone call, which is first about asking them how they are, and asking them what they need, and then giving them a chance to help others. This is an amazing gift that you're giving. And I hope you feel that. One of the things that I'm really impressed, Laura, about this group is nobody talked about it as fundraising. I actually don't believe any of this is about fundraising. I believe this is about giving people an opportunity to make a difference in the lives of others in a meaningful way. By you calling them up, you are giving people an opportunity to do something that they desperately want to do. They desperately want to make a difference. And you're giving them that chance and showing them how to do it and promising them that the gift they're going to make is a gift that's going to make a difference in people's lives. I don't know if you've been if you've been working at all on the Human Services Match, Laura, here in the during this campaign, but so you may be aware that one of the things we're working on at Federation right now is we know that, first of all, let me back up. Last spring when COVID hit, every federation accelerated their campaigns, ran emergency campaigns because people needed help. They were out of work. They couldn't go to the JCC. They couldn't go to synagogue. They couldn't go to their healthcare places. They needed help, and we rushed help. And who thought that we would still be here, right, at this at this late time? I thought by summer we were trying to plan trips to Israel in the summertime. We had no idea that we'd still be here. And then camps, of course, started closing, and all the internships started closing. Everything closed down. And in these situations, the needs really go up. So we wanted to do what we could to help all the human services agencies, those who are helping with vocational, people who need jobs, mental health services, domestic services, all the kinds of things that are needed. And we were fortunate enough to raise funds at the national level that we could then give, offer to Memphis, so that you could say to a local donor that we have a match, we have a matching gift from the national system. If you contribute, your dollar will stretch. What's amazing is from September until December 31st, we're almost done, we're very close. we will have collectively raised across, basically across the North America, 146 communities, $54 million just to provide extra help to the human services agencies that are on the front lines. When you realize that you can have make that kind of difference, and it's not to go on trips or to build buildings or to renovate our anything, our offices. This is just to make sure that the people who are on the front lines have the resources they need to take care of the people in our communities who need the help. So when you realize you can make that kind of an impact in such a short way and such a short time, and as Laura well knows, we couldn't have done this alone. This was only possible because we had a system in place that had professional leadership like Laura, that has community leadership like Ken, that has the kinds of that had the lists ready to call, that had all the things that that make it possible. So one of the things that I guess, and then I'll stop, that I would leave you with is, I hope that through this internship, you're seeing a little bit of behind the scenes, right? You're seeing, you've been in the community, Hillel gets help from the Federation, and other programs, camps do, and trips to Israel do, and now you're seeing behind the scenes. When I was little, I grew up in Cleveland, as I mentioned to you before, and we happened to have a friend of our family who was actually a Holocaust survivor, and she had grown up in Austria as a daughter of very cultured people, and she grew up going to the opera and the orchestra. So she had season tickets to the Cleveland Orchestra, which is kind of a big deal. And because she was alone, she would take me or my sisters every week with her. So I grew up sitting in these amazing orchestra seats, like listening to this amazing orchestra. And all I knew when I was young was that it was beautiful music, and I was learning a lot. And I got involved in the community. I got older, and I was, I worked at City Hall, and I was a state legislator, and I got involved I was a member of Congress, and I got involved in the community. And I realized that, in making it possible for that little kid sitting in the third row to hear that beautiful music was the work of thousands of people, right? Somebody had to raise the funds, somebody had to build the building, somebody got the music, somebody recruited the musicians, somebody paid the musicians, somebody, sold the tickets, somebody made there's a whole operation that goes into creating that beautiful music. So the same thing is true about community, right? Memphis is an amazing community. I loved it when I was there. I hope maybe Laura someday will invite me back if I'm nice to her. But but it's an amazing community, and it cares for each other and takes care of each other. But behind the scenes, to make that happen is an amazing operation. It's true at Hillel with Sophie. It's true at the Federation with Laura. So you're seeing behind the scenes. I hope you're appreciating it. And I hope, whether you're going to do it as a volunteer or whether you're going to do it as considered as a professional, that you will always want to help make sure that this community infrastructure continues. So let me stop. What do you want to talk about? What's on your mind too? As long as we have the time this evening. Somebody will go if I just stay quiet.
Anybody? So if I could chime in. First of all, Eric, thank you. Again, we so appreciate you sharing your vision. I know I'm feeling so inspired, and you know what? We all need a little inspiration now and again, especially during these challenging times. But one thing that I want to reiterate that Eric touched on, that I think all of you, and this is the second time that I've had the opportunity to meet with all of you. So I'm excited to be with you again. But one of the things that Eric mentioned kind of in passing is that there are 146 federations that make up our national system. So what you're doing right now in helping sustain the Memphis Jewish community is happening across North America. So wherever you are, in Atlanta, in Austin, in San Diego, certainly in Memphis, There's an infrastructure in place working, as Eric said, behind the scenes to make sure that Jewish life can thrive and that we can take care of each other. So, one of our hopes with the internship, Eric, was to give our students exposure to not only the Memphis Jewish community, but the broader Jewish communal world and opportunities for them professionally or as a volunteer, wherever they end up, to help be part of that infrastructure. So one of the speakers that we had early on was Arlene Schiff from the Harold Grinspoon Foundation, talking about life and legacy and what that has done to sustain communities. And we were one of the first communities to be part of their program. But so it's really been, this is the first time we've done this program. And we recruited a phenomenal group of students. So, okay, that's all I'm going to say.
We have a great group. Well, and please just jump in anytime, but I'll on this point about 146 federations, look, if you just think about this year, it's so hard to go back, even a year ago, because the world's changed so much. But I mean, think about what happened. Every school closed within days, if not a week. Every summer program was canceled. Offices are closed. So all the businesses around offices are closed. I mean, I traveled in a normal year. I flew about 100,000 miles a year. I was on airplanes probably 4 to 5 days a week. I've been away sometimes weeks at a time on trips, whether it's overseas or around the country. I have been sitting at this desk with one exception. I went to the UAE for Rosh Hashanah, which we should talk about because it's one of the most hopeful things. I was there to celebrate the Abraham Accords, the normalization treaty between Israel and the Emirates. And I, got tested before and tested when I came back, and social distance the whole time. But I've been sitting, with these books to my back and this camera to my, to my face, and it's a very, it's a very disconcerting thing to have your life change so much. So the cost of this pandemic to our community, when you think about JCCs, all of a sudden doors closed. Nobody's coming to exercise. No one's coming to send their kids to preschool. No one's coming to, to go to a, social concert or something. Camps just closed. I mean, you don't have to know the business of camp to understand that the whole, a camp has to operate year round, right? Because they have to keep the buildings, heated. They have to take care of the grounds. The camp directors have to work year round. The counselors work only in the summer, but everybody else, how do you think they make the money? They make the money because it comes all from the fees that are paid one time a year. All of a sudden that was gone. The camps, Jewish camps in North America lost $150 million last summer. Just camps. I mean, JCC is probably $500 million. I mean, it was just such an extraordinary time. And so there was no one solution, but, as Laura said, collectively 146 federations and our coordinating efforts at the Jewish Federations of North America worked together, and we just took it one piece at a time. I'll give you, here's a few numbers. Each federation, on top of their annual campaign, which is what you're helping with, the total campaign, the total emergency funds raised was $175 million. We created another fund of zero interest loans and grants that was $92 million. I mentioned the $54 million human services campaign that we're running right now. And I don't know if any of you followed this, but thanks, we lobby, we also, one of the things we do is we're the Washington office, we're the lobbyists for the Jewish community on domestic issues, right? You've probably heard of AIPAC, they work on US-Israel issues, but when it comes to healthcare and food and security and all of those issues, we're your representatives in Washington. By the way, it's an exciting time to be in Washington, as you maybe know, the new administration's taking office. I don't think they've nominated, I don't think President-elect Biden has nominated anybody yet who's not Jewish to the cabinet. I think they are 100%. No, my law school classmate Javier Becerra was nominated today to Human Services, but seriously, it's an extraordinary representation in our from our community in the cabinet. New Congress, former chair of the board of the Jewish Federations of North America is going to be a new member of Congress, Kathy Manning from North Carolina. We have a big mission to Washington. Change makers, you're going to hear all about this, and Hillel is going to hear all about this. February 1st and 2nd, we have a virtual mission to Washington to meet the new Congress and to lobby them. So please sign up and please join us. But we did something historic last year. There is just, generally when there's a big disaster in the country, the Congress passes and the president passes some kind of economic package to help people out. It happened after 9/11. It happened after the real estate collapse in 2000. But it's always been for the private sector. It's always been for the airline industry or for the auto industry or for the banks or for whatever. This is the first time, thanks to our advocacy, that Congress included the nonprofit sector, human services and camps and schools and faith-based too in the package. And then we helped get information to Laura, who helped get information out to the community. We ended up bringing in about $500 million in public funding as well. So all told, we raised well over $1 billion to try to fill the hole that was created when the country was closed. So it's really just an amazing thing. And so we talk about money, but it's not about money. It translates into the fact that people were able to keep their jobs, people were able to get the help they need, people were able to get the food they need, all of that. So that's the power of this. That's why I say it's not about fundraising. It's about giving people an opportunity, ultimately to make the difference in the lives of others.
Eric, I got a question. I got a couple of questions for you. I've been thinking of. I wrote it down so I didn't forget. How did you get to be the president of the Hillel International? And then what do you do on a day-to-day basis now that COVID has kind of changed everything? That you said you traveled and now you don't. What are your day-to-day?
So look, becoming president of Hillel was kind of it really wasn't something I expected to do. First of all, I want to be really honest. I did not expect to be a professional in the Jewish community. I thought my career would be politics and government. I went to law school. I graduated from law school. I came back to Cleveland. I worked at a law firm. I worked at Legal Aid. I don't know if you know, Legal Aid is what helps people, poor people with representation. I worked for a guy, in politics, I worked for a guy who ran for mayor of Cleveland. I was his campaign manager. He got elected. So I ended up working at City Hall, and then I ran for the state legislature, and then I ran for Congress. I thought my whole career was going to be, politics. So after, first of all, just as a personal aside, just remember always that nothing is a straight line. So I got elected. I was elected to the state Senate when I was, about 30. I was elected to Congress when I was about 32. And then I lost. So I got elected in 1992 when Bill Clinton was elected president. You know who Bill Clinton is? It's Hillary Clinton's husband, was president of the United States. And then in 1994, there was a big sweep and the Democrats lost control of Congress, and I was one of the people who lost. So here I was, a 32-year-old former congressman, like, what the heck do I do with my life? And it's not, what I expected to do. I didn't expect to lose. But what I decided to do, and I think this is partly has to do with Jewish communal values, is everybody who wanted to stayed in Washington. Bill Clinton, I remember we met in the cabinet room, and he looked at all these people who lost the elections and said, it's all my fault. And he offered everybody jobs. They could be ambassadors, they could do whatever they want. And I went home. I thought that my roots were at home. My family was at home. I didn't want the last thing people to know about me was that I'd lost this election. I wanted them to know I really cared about the community. And I went back to work, and I taught Sunday school I taught, confirmation class at my synagogue, and I, worked with, I was on the board of the Hillel in Cleveland, and, just got involved again. And actually ended up running back again for the state legislature. And while I was in the state legislature, I also ran for the U.S. Senate, another election I lost. So you don't win everything. I was the Democratic nominee for the U.S. Senate in 2004, I guess. The year John Kerry and George W. Bush ran against each other for president, which was really fun, by the way. You ever want to talk politics? That was really fun because the election, it was a very close election. The election came down to Ohio, and we really didn't know who was going to win. And so both candidates were spending all their time in Ohio. And because I was the candidate for the U.S. Senate, I was the top of the ticket right below John Kerry. So I got to travel around, and Bruce Springsteen came in the last night, and I performed with Bruce Springsteen, and all sorts of fun things. Anyway, I saw Bruce Springsteen's guitar like right in front of me. What was I talking about? How do we get on this? Anyway, so when I was in the legislature, I always say it's one of the first times that I really knew that being Jewish was affecting my views on policy, because the economy of Ohio, as an old industrial state, was starting to go down. Factories were closing, auto plants, steel mills closing. And there was a debate about, well, what do you do next? And some people, even today, were blaming foreign trade. Then it was Japan, today it's China. We're being screwed, people are taking advantage of us. And then there was a group of us, and this was why I was attracted in working with Bill Clinton, who said, no, it's about education, right? You have to be able to be better trained. And in Ohio, look, we had people who just thought all they had to do was go to high school, graduate high school, then they get a job in a factory, and then they could, buy a house and buy a boat and take their kids to Disneyland, and everything would be, and all of a sudden all those jobs were gone. So I got more and more involved in higher education, and this is a long, long answer to Noah, but I'm getting there. I got more and more involved in higher education. I chaired the committees. I advocated for funding for higher education, keep tuition down, make it accessible for people. And as a result, the governor appointed me chancellor of what's called the Board of Regents. So every state has a system of universities. They have somebody who runs the university on the specific campus, but then there's usually a state board. University of California has a board. Cal State has a board. University of Texas has a system, right? There's many University of Texas schools. So same thing in Ohio. We have 14 public universities, 23 community colleges. So I became the chancellor of that, and I just loved it. I loved working with universities and colleges, making higher education more accessible, giving people greater opportunity. And when that term came to an end, I was a little bit at loose ends. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do next. I didn't think I wanted to run for office again. I had done that, and by then I had 2 little kids and wasn't sure it was a great time to run for office again. And then I got a call from Hillel that they were looking for a new president, and they thought that my background, knowing Jewish communal life, knowing about universities, having experienced fundraising, which is why this is so important, because every nonprofit needs fundraising. That it would be good. So they offered me the job, and I took it. And I have to tell you, it's not what I expected to do, but I loved every minute of it. I loved every campus that I was on. I loved every student leader I met. I loved all the professionals, the donors who made it possible. I really thought, look, it's the most important age group. Obviously, it's when you're being connected to Jewish life. It's when you're feeling welcome or not welcome in a Jewish community. It's the first time you have to build your own community, right? Your parents, until you go to college, your parents take you to synagogue, or they don't take you to synagogue, whichever the case may be, right? But they take you to community, or they don't take you to community. Now you're making your own choices. And I just loved every bit of it. And I'll just finish the story to the question you didn't ask, Noah, but I was very happy doing that. But also I understood, and I saw when I was at Hillel, that we were part of a bigger ecosystem, right? That there was a bigger community led by federations that not only took care of Hillels and college students, but also took care of seniors, and took care of camps, and took care of day schools, and took care of preschools. And so when that phone call came, I was just wanting to join Laura and her colleagues and see if we can help build the entire community. What else did you ask me? No, you asked me a second.
Yeah. What's your day-to-day operations now that COVID is not allowing you to travel?
Oh yeah, I have to say it's intense. I mean, I literally am on Zoom from 7 a.m. or sometimes earlier, because we do Zooms in Israel and they're 7 hours later. until, well, what time is it? Let's see. I'm on Eastern time, so it's 20 to 7 tonight, and I've got 1 or 2 more calls tonight. Look, as you know, there's a plus and a minus here, right? Which is the minus, we don't even have to, I mean, you're missing the personal contact. I'm I have to force myself to go outside to get fresh air. But the positive is, look at these conversations we're having, right? I could, if we hadn't gotten used to doing things this way, I probably wouldn't have been able to make it to Memphis tonight. We might not have had the opportunity to spend this time together. We just had, the big annual meeting of the Federation system is called the GA. Did anybody participate in our virtual GA? So for the first, normally on a good year, Laura, what do we have? 3,000 people, maybe something like that. We'll all fly in. We'll have a big conference, a big hotel. It's a beautiful thing. We had 10,000 people, 10,000 people, participating because we also made it accessible. So from now on, I think, for me, and we started this conversation today because we're asking ourselves, what do we do next year? What do we do the year after? When we can gather, we want to gather, but we don't ever want to give up on this ability to connect to people. I mentioned our mission to Washington, which is on February 1st and 2nd. Then that also kicks off the entire month of February is Jewish Disability Advocacy Month, JDAM. It used to be called Jewish. Now here's a great example, right? Tell me tell me what you think about this. Every year for the last, I don't know how long, Laura, 5 to 8 years, something like that, we've had Jewish Disability Advocacy Day, where people fly into Washington. We organize meetings on Capitol Hill to advocate for policies for people with disabilities. And of course, many people with disabilities come, which is a huge hardship to come, but it's very impactful, for them to be there and to lobby. So we had last year, it was an amazing day. We had, I think, 250 people, on Capitol Hill. It was really powerful, but 250 people. So, and we know there were many, many people who couldn't come because they either couldn't afford it or they couldn't manage the physical, steps of travel, or it was just a huge, difficulty for them. So this year we're going to have Jewish Disability Advocacy Month, and we're going to have thousands of people. We're going to be advocating, for people with disabilities. And members of Congress are used to this now. They'll meet with you like this and talk with you about the issues. So I think, Noah, that look, we had no choice. We're here, right? We are where we are. So the real question is, what do we learn from this? And how do we combine, how do we combine our desire to be with each other in personal contact with our new technologies that enable us to reach, lots of people. So I don't know, Sophie, have you reached more people through Hillel? How many people have,
Yes.
yeah, tell me.
Well, one good example is that we did the Jewish Learning Fellowship last semester in the spring, and we had 2 separate cohorts on each campus and in person, and we had 14 students participate total. And because we did JLF online this semester, we combined the group, so it was one big group, and we had 22 students sign up, and 20 ended up participating through the whole thing. So that's one really concrete example of how this has how it's enabled us to reach across time zones, to connect students in different locations around the country around Jewish values and Jewish learning. It's not ideal. We'd like to be in person together, but in the meantime, I think there have been extreme benefits from getting so used to this technology, as you've mentioned.
Yeah,
I think there's another thing too, like before we go on, to give credit where it's due. It's really Sophie that's changed the shape of what Hillel at Memphis and Rhodes has been. Having the ability to transform everything online and still keeping people engaged and active through JLF, through other resources, always being available. We couldn't have done it without Sophie, and it's just so great to see this and be here and get to witness all of this while I'm in school. So yeah.
Thank you, Sophie.
I've been trained by the best, really. It's an honor, and it's been such a pleasure to work with these students, especially in this capacity, and to play a tiny part in helping them kind of figure out what their Jewish involvement, their either professional involvement or lay leadership involvement could be moving forward. So it's been such a pleasure, you guys.
What else? Anything else I can?
Any last burning questions?
Do you have any advice for a young Jewish professional leader involved in Hillel for the future?
Look, I think that first of all, the fact that you're all participating in this internship is a huge step. I'll just say, sign up and do things and participate. And people, if you participate, like Marissa did in Changemakers, and we are going to do Changemakers again next summer. So we'll get the information out to everybody. Spread the word. Look, it's like anything else. You get to know the issues, you get to know the people, you get to know the organizations. We get to know you, and the opportunities are going to come. Just be involved. This is such the benefits of the connections are so strong, and we are, like I said, we want to be together. That's why this is so. No matter how many people we get on Zoom. What I'd really rather be doing is sitting with you and, over pizza or whatever it is, and having this conversation. It's not the same, but we have an opportunity, to really make a difference in people's lives. And I think if you make if ultimately, Noah, people can tell the difference, whether it's about you or whether it's about others, right? And I can tell from the way you answered my questions about why you're doing this. You told me the story of the woman you talked to, and she made an increase because of the conversation you had. And Marissa, you told me about people glad to hear from you. People know, they know the difference, right? They can tell, they can see through, self-interest, and putting other people first is always the way that we start. And I always, Lauren knows me, I never get off a call, how can I be of service to you, right? How can I help you? What can we do? What more can we do? This is Laura's approach to Memphis. This is Zoe's approach to Hillel. What more can we do? What can we do? What help do you need? And I think when, that's what people want to be part of. They want to be part of something that is, that's that meaningful, and that's that connected. So that's our story. Can we end with one little word of Torah?
Please, I was gonna say.
So it was actually last week, but it's one of my favorite. There's a great song. I'm gonna have to. I'll send Sophie the link so that you can listen. But you remember the story of Jacob and Esau, and that they. Jacob stole the birthright, and then he fled, and because he thought Esau was going to kill him, and he married Rachel and Leah, and they had 12 they had the 12 children, and then eventually he had a falling out with his father-in-law, and he starts his way back. And they're about to encounter each other for the first time, right? Now they're married, they're both prosperous, they've got kids, they've got families, but Jacob's really scared. And so the night before they meet, he splits up his family into two groups, so that if one's attacked, the others will be able to get away. And he takes all these precautions, and he brings presents for Esau and all this stuff. And the night before, he scared, and he says a prayer, and he says in the Torah, he says, "Katonti mikol hachasidim mikol hamet asher asita et abdecha." He says to God, I'm so small. You know the Hebrew word katon? Katan, small, right? So katonti mikol chasidim. Chesed is the kindness. I'm so humbled. I'm so grateful for all of the kindnesses that you've given at Avdecha to your servant Jacob. And so here he doesn't know what's going to happen. He doesn't know what's going to, he's scared of anything. And all Jacob is thinking about is all of the kindnesses, all of the good things that people have done for him, God have done for him. So that's how we're in this crazy moment. But think about all the good things that are happening to us, right? Think about, there are scientists who are working on vaccines, and there are healthcare workers who are taking care of those who are sick, and there are people are mean, if you're like me, there's an Amazon delivery truck that goes by our house every day, bringing 6 packages to every, to every neighbor. I mean, there's so much that we have that we are so grateful for at this moment. We live in a miraculous time. We live in a miraculous time of Jewish life. The fact that when I shared with you about all the losses of the financial, it's because think about what exists, right? Think about all the opportunities that exist for us. You have free trips to Israel you can take, and you have internships you can take, and you have camps to go to and schools to go. We live in such a miraculous time. So I'm just humbled by all the goodness we have in our lives, and then we have the opportunity to give that back. And if you do that, whether you're going to turn out to be on the board of Hillel to help Sophie out, or whether you're going to go work at Hillel, or you're going to be on the board of the Federation, or you're going to go work at Hillel. If we keep that in mind, how lucky we are, how grateful we are, how blessed we are, and then we'll be fine. Last word is that on Sabbath morning, when the Torah is out of the ark, we always say blessings, right? You've ever heard the word Misha Berach? It's like a sort of means to bless, right? We bless people who just had a baby. We bless people who are about to get married. We bless people who've taken trips and come back and safely. And we also say Misha Berach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov Sarah Rivka Leah. We bless you in the name of our forefathers and our foremothers. At Kol Hakila Hakadosha, at the entire holy community, right? Kihila is it's a congregation, but it's really more. It's a community. Umisha Oskim B'Tzorchei Tzibur B'Emunah, and everyone who supports the community with faith, with kindness, with love, and with integrity and with commitment. And so that's my blessing to you. I bless you for your commitment to this community, for everything that you've given to us during this internship, everything you've given to your community at Hillel. And I pray that you will continue to be a blessing to our community, to our people. And if I can do anything to help you along the way, anytime, Sophie, Laura will give you my email. You'll know how to find me, and it would be my pleasure. I hope some more of you will sign up for Changemakers. I hope Marissa's going to be a leader in the Changemakers alumni, and I look forward to working with you throughout your time serving the community as a professional or as a volunteer.
Thank you so much, Eric. You were just so generous with your time and your wisdom, and it's been such a pleasure to hear from you this evening. Thank you again. Thank you to Laura and Michael and Ken also for being here. It was just such a pleasure to hear from you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, Sophie. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Great job.
Bye.
Bye.
Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah, happy Hanukkah, and keep up the good work, and thank you all so much.
Stay safe.
Thanks.